All right. So as I said off the top, we've got 6 Cats. Here they are. 6 Cats ready to make their AFL debut in 2024. And they are Sean Manor, Ollie Henry, Ollie Dempsey, Lawson Humphreys, Shannon Neal, and Jack Bowes. Now, Jake, assuming they all get picked this week, it's going to be an exciting time for almost a quarter of this list, a quarter of this team, if they get named as they are, that hasn't played a final yet. How does that make you feel, Jake, going into this Thursday night?
Oh my goodness, it makes me excited going into this Thursday night. It gets me excited going into the next, say, 3-4 weeks. It gets me excited headed into 2025 and beyond. Like, there was so much, I'm not even going to say doom and gloom, but it seemed like a pretty practical point of view to take that after that 2022 flag, it was, that one last push. We've got Selwood the flag as captain. It felt like such a capper on an era for the Cats. But I feel like, after a little bit of a reset year, a little bit of a slide off in 2023, we're sort of looking to be back. And I'm not going to say better than ever, but we are back and building something new. It doesn't seem like the hunger has disappeared from this team, from this coach, from this club. And I love that as a fan. And I love the mix. That's something that stands out to me, Ben. Like, these AFL debutants. You've got young guys. You've also got mature age guys. My dog's even excited about this. He's just over the moon about the Cats debutants. Like Lawson Humphreys and Sean Manor obviously sort of stand out as guys who have made their AFL debut this year, and they're going to make their finals debut. Like, what a start to your career.
Did you even think for a minute that you would see Lawson Humphreys be playing in a final? We'll start with him. Let's dig into Lawson a little bit. Debuted, was it 8 or 9 weeks ago, something like that. Now we were all calling for him to get a game for quite a while. We liked what we saw in the VFL, and then since he's come into this team, he's been magnificent. And you thought a couple of games in, I'm thinking, geez, he's probably going to hold his spot for a few weeks here, and then a couple more games go by, I think, I don't reckon they can get rid of him. And then a few more games goes by. I'm like, I reckon he's the best kick in the team. I'm like, he's guaranteed to play finals. The question is, Jake, how's he going to go under the bright lights in September? Do you think we're going to see a bit of nerves creep in, or he's just the coolest, calmest customer you've ever seen, and he's built for this stage?
Well, it depends. I suppose you can never fully forecast. Like, finals is just such a different cauldron. For want of a better word. I mean, that's such a cliche, the cliche cauldron, but you can sort of only go on, what we've seen, data set, track record. And if you look at him in VFL, I mean, this is a guy who played 11 VFL games for the Cats this year. He only failed to clear 20 or more disposals twice. One of the biggest games that Geelong had, one of the toughest, closest games that he played in, was against the Sydney Swans in round 10 of the VFL season. That to me was the game that got him selected. He had career high 28 disposals. He had almost a career high in marks. He had 8. He had 3 tackles. He kicked basically the match sealing goal. And when the game was on the line, the Swans had roared back into the contest and looked like they might even snatch it away from the Cats. This was, I think, the curtain raiser. It was up at the SCG. And he provided a crucial one-on-one spoil down back. The Swans were pressing, and it was him one-on-one, basically near the goal square, and he got over the top of his opponent, fisted it through for a behind, I believe it was. I think it's literally 90 seconds later, he bobs up running through the paint of 50 and slots the match winner. So I think you go back to the game against the Crows where he slots the match winner. I don't think the moment will be too big for him. I think we've seen some evidence that Lawson Humphreys isn't that 18-year-old debutant. He is in his early 20s. He's played a bit of footy. He's seen, 3 years more life experience than some of the younger guys. So I don't think it'll be too big for him.
I agree. I think we're going to see another special game from the young fella. I want to talk a little bit about Ollie Dempsey, though, the Rising Star winner, and we'll come to him again in a little bit. I don't know, but this is one that I'm a little bit more nervous about, Jake. I think Ollie's got what it takes to have a big game, but I feel it depends on how this game plays out. I feel like there's certain games certain ways that Geelong play, or certain opponents that let us play a brand of footy that we want to play, and sometimes that works for Ollie, and sometimes it doesn't. And my question still remains for him is, can he inject himself into this game when the chips aren't rolling his way, or whatever the phrase is? Can he find a way to have an influence on this game? I think if he can be that X factor for us, and we've got a couple of X factors, we'll talk about another one in a minute, but I think he can be that guy that will win us this game, or he could be the guy on Thursday night at the end of the game. We go, oh, where was he? Well, what happened to him? The Rising Star winner. What happened to him? I don't know. What are your thoughts on him? Because clearly he's been in the news all week. It's all been hyping up Ollie Dempsey. Everybody knows who he is now. Are you feeling good about his chances of dominating, or do you feel like it's going to be a big test for him? Where do you see him? Where do you see his game going on Thursday night?
Probably was one of his quieter games the last time we played Port Adelaide. 13 disposals, 1 goal, 1 tackle. So, look, I think with Ollie Dempsey is he's growing in confidence. I think this has been a really good year for him. Obviously, not exactly like Lawson Humphreys, but in the sense that, he debuted back in 2022. He played a few games in 2023, and now he's been undroppable all season. I think in some ways it's not, I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head. It's not so much the stage, it's how the game unfolds. And, Ollie Dempsey is, he is more of that outside player. That's ideally where you would like to see him, operating in space, doing clever things. So I think we'll see the best of Ollie Dempsey if if our contested situation around clearances is at its best, because then we can win the ball and get it out to our users like himself and Brian Myers and others who are on the outside. So I think his game might be a little bit more dictated by how others perform. That's sort of how I would frame his potential outcome.
Interesting. I did a poll on Twitter last night. I said which AFL Finals debutant for the Cats will have the biggest impact on Thursday night, and 38%, the most, said Ollie Dempsey. The second most was Shawnee Manor. So I just want to spend a couple of minutes, if we can, just talking about Shawnee Manor. For me, I think he's the biggest X factor going into this game, Jake. I think he's the man that we all should be watching. A lot of us saw that VFL Grand Final, was it last year, how he absolutely dominated, 20-odd, 30 touches, whatever he had, and 6 goals. I feel like he's got it in him to have a massive game, to be a massive influence. Now, whether it gets us over the line, I'm not completely sure, but I feel like he's ready to go, and I can't wait to see what he produces. I didn't think he would stay in the side after he got dropped early in the year and then came back. I thought he'd be in and out a little bit and just be that top-up player. But for me, he's the one that gets me excited the most. What about you? What do you think of his game?
Oh, he went back and worked at what I think we all thought he needed to work at, which was to basically buy into the Geelong way of it's we, not me. That's not to be too critical of him, but I watched the first few games he played down at the Cats, the game against St Kilda. I think we went to the Crows the next week. There were a few times where he probably took shots where other players, your Tyson Stengels, for instance, would center the ball to a teammate. They're looking to bring a teammate in a better scoring position. And I think he probably didn't do that, probably didn't bring enough defensive pressure. He drops down to the VFL and pretty much proceeds to turn his season around. The first game back against Northern Bull Ants, 3 goals, 2. That was one where I still felt he's still ironing out some of those kinks. He's still ironing out I've got to be Superman and kick all the goals and have all the disposals. He really improved over the course of the sort of 7-8 games he played in the VFL. Still kicked plenty of goals, but set up a lot as well. Applied some really good pressure. And really, it all came to a head for him against Sandringham. 21 disposals, had, I think, 10 clearances or 6 clearances. 10 tackles and touched on ground, but an incredible team player. Straight back into the AFL side, hasn't been dropped since. So I totally agree with you. I voted for him as that sort of X Factor finals player in your poll on Twitter. I think he's a gem.
I can't wait to see what he produces on Thursday. I'm so excited. I just really feel like we're going to be all raving. All the talk on Thursday night after the game is going to be all about Sean Manor, and we're going to be so much. If you don't already love the bloke, I think we're just going to be out of control.